Hello students, this is Miss Brooks Bryant. We did not do so well on Essay 1, so what I want to do is to go over some things on there, and hopefully we can get everybody on the same page, metaphorically speaking, and we can do better on our further essays. Okay, so here I am in Blackboard, and I'm looking at the criteria for Essay 1, and again, this was in the Week 4 Learning module, and the essay is based on what you read and viewed earlier in the module. So that was about how the essay would be evaluated, how to use rhetoric to get what you want, the information about confirmation bias. And so you were supposed to read all those things before you started this essay. Again, it says that here, make sure you've thoroughly and carefully read on, reviewed all the content specified in this week's module before beginning the essay. There were some other things too up here that I had asked you to look at. Argument and persuasion from the previous week's model. Week 1 learning module for 1301 refresher file. What is academic writing? What is critical writing? Correct MLA formatting. You were supposed to look at all of those things before you even attempted this essay. I could tell many of you did not do those things. Okay, so read and follow these directions carefully. Contact Ms. Brooks if you have questions about any part or just want to double check yourself. Not enough of you contacted me with questions, and that's unfortunate because that's usually where your essay went sideways. Okay, so the first step here was to find an American newspaper with national distribution. It can be online or print. Some suggestions, such as the New York Times, San Francisco Chronicle, Wall Street Journal. Contact Ms. Brooks if you need more help with this. Do not just choose a random news page on the internet, such as Yahoo, Huffington Report, or MSN. Students are asked to find a bona fide American newspaper. Again, ask for help if you are in doubt. Some of you went sideways on this immediately. You did not ask for help. You did not ask for verification. And so you ended up writing on an article that either did not come from an American newspaper, which is highlighted here, or it didn't have national distribution. And also, the article must address an issue of national significance, which is here in the second point. Some of you did not do that as well. And so perhaps your essay went sideways before you even started based on the article that you found. I would recommend that from now on, if you have to do something like this, that you run the article past me or your other instructors, and that way you'll know you're on the right track. Okay, choose one article that is written by an author who is identified by his or her name. Most of you did that, so that was good. 3, do some brief research on both the editor of the newspaper you chose and the the author of the article you chose. Pay special attention to certain factors about each of the individuals, such as gender, age, ethnicity, education, any political affiliation or preference expressed. This information about both the editor and the author needs to be mentioned in the intro paragraph. Okay, some of you did not include editor information. Some of you switched around which one was talked about first. There were various issues there. Nobody chose any articles from the Associated Press or United Press, so that's good. We don't have to go over that one too much. 4, set up your document to look like an essay. See Week 2 Learning Module, how to correctly format documents in MLA standards, specifically Example A. A majority of you did not follow the directions on how to document or format this document correctly, so that obviously was a problem as well. You need to be documenting your essay correctly. So again, you're going to want to look at this, how to correctly format documents in MLA standards, specifically Example A when you have to write an essay. In the introductory paragraph of the essay, the following information must appear in order. Title of the article, the author, name of the newspaper. Okay, many of you included those 3 things, but you wrote it as a sentence fragment rather than a complete sentence, and that's a problem. Briefly introduce the editor and the author and discuss what you found in your research about each of them, then briefly summarize the article. This point will be there will be a long paragraph due to the amount of content being asked for, therefore avoid being unnecessarily wordy. Get to the point in concise, grammatically correct sentences that make sense. Okay, now I know that it does say editor and author here, but it actually would have made more logical sense if you discussed the author before the editor, since how you you mentioned the author first. However, that was my bad. Those of you that did this, that's fine. I didn't necessarily take off any points, but I did point it out to you. If you have concerns about that, let me know. This is all about how writers try to be unbiased. There's really no such thing as unbiased. There's less biased or more balanced writing, but not unbiased writing. Okay, moving to the first paragraph of Essay 1, use textual evidence such as direct quotes, paraphrases with relevant intro phrases, and proper MLA parenthetical citations. A lot of you did not put an intro phrase in front of your direct quote or paraphrase. Intro phrase is there to tell the reader the person who is talking, their credentials. It builds their ethos. And so if you don't introduce who said the quote, then how does your reader, first of all, know who did it? And secondly, why should they be believed? You must do an intro phrase and then a proper MLA citation. Many of you are very rusty on MLA, parenthetical in-text citations. You need to review that as soon as possible. You can do that through the MLA links that I included in the module and also on the 1301 refresher file. As support, identify examples from the article in which a successful effort was made by the writer towards being less biased or more balanced. Again, we're talking about the first body paragraph. That's what you were supposed to talk about, how the writer was less biased or more balanced. Many of you did the opposite. You did the bias first and the less bias second, and of course that counted off points. Explain how and why you feel this is occurring. So it's wonderful if you gave me an example, but if you didn't tell me why it was less biased or how it was less biased, then it was not an effective paragraph. The second body paragraph, identify and discuss occurrences where the writer-editor made a weak or no attempt to be neutral or balanced. Again, use specific evidence to support what you're saying. Again, explain how you feel this is occurring. So if you screwed up on the first body paragraph, then the second one's going to be screwed up as well. The same problems that showed up in in body paragraph 1 were the same kind of issues that showed up in body paragraph 2. If you need a review on proper MLA parenthetical citations, consult this link, or this link. Many of you did not do that, or you're using an outdated model of MLA, in-text parenthetical citations. MLA changed their requirements last year. You need to come up to date on that. And then in the concluding paragraph, briefly summarize what you learned from completing this activity, not what you learned from reading the article. Okay, so the two main topics of the essay were recognizing less biased writing and recognize more biased writing. So you should have said something about that in the concluding paragraph. Also, what did you learn about examining a news article for bias? That's what I was getting at here. I didn't care what you learned from the article you read. What I wanted you to do was to examine how the writer was writing less biased and more biased, and then, of course, how that now is going to impact maybe perhaps how you read or listen to things in the future. 5 terms for the vocabulary list are present, need to be present in the essay. Each is underlined and used in correct rhetorical context. Some of you didn't do any of these. Some of you did a few of these. Some of you did them, but the context was not correct. Unfortunately, I think students concentrated a heck of a lot more on this rather than on trying to do what was asked for up here, and that obviously suffered in the point total. Make sure to carefully proofread and catch errors. Also, double check your essay contains all the elements required that were detailed above. All the elements detailed above was right here, how essay 1 will be evaluated and assessed. Many of you did not read that carefully and did not include everything you needed to. Writing clear, easy to understand, grammatically correct, and complete sentences. Many of you are writing in fragments and run-ons. Proper grammar, spelling, capitalization, punctuation all count. Some of you did not proofread your paper at all, and that was obviously an issue. No works cited pages required. Save as a doc or docx. Essays worth 100 points will be considered a final draft. And then, of course, it needed to be submitted on time. Okay, now we're going to I'm going to end this video and turn to how Essay 1 will be evaluated and assessed, and we will look at a successful student example. So stay tuned for part 2.